My name is Nick. I'm a full-time trader and entrepreneur. We put out tons of stuff for free for traders.
These are real trades. This is real money. I'm putting my money on the line.
This is going to be a live trading video. Here, locking in over $1,000 on this trade.
Wow, I'd love to get in on this.
Technical insights that really look good to me.
Here we go. We're live.
Well, hello, everybody. Good to see you. It is official. I am back.
He's back.
Thanks for being here, you guys. Welcome back to another stream. Shout out to all of my friends in the chat. We've got a bunch of people already here, and I really appreciate you guys being here. I've got a lot to talk about. Quick, just a little update on where I've been in case you're not familiar. I've been in Iceland. I basically took a little bit of sort of a vacation. The last year has been, of course, a very busy time for me, but my girlfriend and I, well, there's an update there as well. My girlfriend and I went to Iceland just because it was a really cool trip. We found cheap tickets and we were able to go. So we had a ton of fun. We explored the countryside. It was absolutely gorgeous there. And, it was amazing. And now we're back. I'm happy to be back to do more streams and content and work with you guys more on what's going on in the financial markets. I did also get engaged, which was huge. So, obviously that's a big milestone for anybody in their life. So I ended up getting engaged. My girlfriend and I, we've been together for, I guess now my fiance, we've been together for like 6 years. So it was coming it just felt like the right time. So it was awesome. And we are now back. Like I said, it's really, really good to kind of be back to some normalcy here, back to a little bit of more of a scheduled lifestyle. Traveling is a lot of fun, but it is tiring, and it's nice to be done with that. Thank you guys very much for all the congratulations. By the way, you guys were so nice on my Instagram, and I shared a little bit of it on my YouTube channel here, just on my community tab. So appreciate you guys as always. You guys are the best. Thank you very, very much. Nick, if you had any advice for your younger self, what would it be? Well, do what you love. Don't do what you are told to do. A lot of times people get told, oh, go do so-and-so job because then you'll have money and you won't starve. And, of course, there's an essence of doing something that's going to actually do you well in life. But there's also a really big, important part of, doing what you're actually passionate about in life. Because I'm a big believer that if you do something that you really like, you'll do it better, which is why I am so excited to be back and looking at markets, talking about the foreign exchange market specifically. We are back, like I said, for the first time in haven't streamed in like a week, which is a long time for me. I've been doing these live streams. If you've been watching for a while, I've been doing these live streams for years now, just as sort of my daily routine as a trader. I go through what the markets have to offer, talk about, currency pairs that I'm watching, trade setups that I'm looking at, trades that I'm in, things like that. So like I said, thank you for being here. Without further ado, let's jump back into what's going on in the world of markets. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm a little bit slow. As a active, swing trader, I'm pretty much always looking at the markets and trying to figure out what's been going on. But for the first time in a while, I've kind of been out of the way of what's been developing. So this is going to be a little bit of a refresher for maybe some of you guys who are more active right now. But I will be looking at this stuff for the first time in a little bit. So of course, I've kept some eyes on my positions and things that I've held during my trip, but like I said, each day, doing these live streams and spending the time to go figure out trade setups and things that I'm looking at, it obviously is a time-consuming thing that I didn't get a chance to do so much when I was on vacation. So we are back. Like I said, let's jump into some charts. So here's the dollar. The dollar has actually been retreating since I left. Maybe now that I'm back, it'll start going up again. But the dollar here, overall, has been sort of on a pause since its recent high. So we put in that high back over here. That is the 12th of October. That's where we found a pretty significant topping point, at least for the time being, for the dollar. And then finally, we actually were able to sell underneath this trend line, which basically gave way to some more sell side action for the next few weeks here, really. So we've since that point, it is now what is today? Today's the 21st of October, 22nd of October. So for the last 10 days, we've pretty much seen pretty significant, strong selling for the US dollar. So now zooming in just a little bit, here is your 4-hour view. And we'll sort of start fresh here. So we do kind of have this lower high concept coming into the markets, which is a pretty big deal. You do see, like I said, you had this big trend line here to the upside that was just strength for the bulls. That broke to the downside. Then basically now we are starting to see sellers still maintain control here of the dollar. Now, a couple things that I'll note about this. I am still bullish on the dollar. I haven't really significantly changed my outlook on that. With everything going on, I think that the U.S. Will continue to sort of march towards tightening their monetary policy. I may have to do some more research off camera just to give you guys some clarity. I'll have to go spend some more time on that. But the big thing here is that the overall idea, the U.S. 10-year, just for a quick look at this, I'll be right back to the dollar, is still on its march higher, right? And oftentimes, this is sort of, hinting at the idea that people are expecting a raise in rates. They're expecting tightening on monetary policy. So my personal outlook when looking at stocks, when looking at the dollar, is still dollar positive. So back to the DXY here, looking at the US dollar, I still expect the dollar to continue its march higher. This is a 4-hour chart, so it is very normal to see, pullbacks for a week or two, even in the context of a very strong uptrend. Since 2021 has started, the dollar's had a really pretty solid year, right? So we've seen these big moves, these retreats, these moves, these retreats. So it is normal to see a retreat here, even in the context of a bullish uptrend for the dollar. Now, is the bullish uptrend still going to continue, right away? Maybe, maybe not. Oh, look at this. A donation here from, hopefully I can say your name, Akal or Achal. Thank you so much for the 100 rupees. Appreciate that, man. As always, you guys don't have to do that. You don't have to donate or anything like that. I do these streams as part of just my trading, sort of my daily calendar, if you will. It really helps me to go through the streams and just go through chart by chart with you guys. But appreciate you as always. Thank you very much for the congratulations on the engagement. That is too kind of you. Thank you so much. So anyways, with that said, my thoughts on the dollar are still dollar positive, still dollar bullish, but I'm looking to see if we can get some form of a breakout here. Can we get a sign of strength before looking to try and jump back into dollar strength? Because the thing here is, yes, you had this really great uptrend, but that concept did, to the credit of the bears, sort of had a little bit of a hiccup, right? You had the topping point, you had the breakout to the downside, and then you had, a big move. And I really loved this candle here. This candle right here was really interesting to watch. This candle, I believe it was big news. Was that may have actually been, it wasn't NFP. It was some big news. It might have been a Fed meeting or something, but I can't remember exactly. But I remember that day being like, wow, that's really dollar positive. And then by the end of the day, the dollar had crumbled back down to the lows and ended up following through for the rest of the week. So, that was a big signal. That was a big signal that for the time being, there are some sellers out there on the dollar. And for me watching this, I'm interested to see if we can get a breakout to the upside. Fundamentally, I like the dollar higher. So I'm looking for something like that, looking for opportunities. There are a couple different currencies that I'm most interested in. Let's go take a look, for example, at my number one candidate right now, which is Euro USD. So Euro USD here, taking a look. Let's look at the daily chart for a second. So the daily chart here for the dollar against the euro, I am interested in looking for shorts. I'll just say that I do like Euro USD to the short side. I have taken some positions already, and I'm looking to see how this market reacts to levels like 1.1670, like this past resistance. Are we going to see sellers step right up to basically take their first stab here? So I actually shorted Euro USD right around here. I don't have my account logged in right now, but I'll pull this up just so you can see. So here it is, just as proof. This is inside of our Discord. So inside of the Discord channel, I said I took a short on Euro USD. I had a stop loss hit on pound dollar, but I did like also Euro USD. So I shorted Euro USD at resistance. You can see there is the trade setup that I sent out to members inside of the VIP. Basically liked that the price had pulled back to that 38.2, tapped into this resistance point, and basically I took the short from there. So I was my entry was not perfect. You can see I just missed that 38.2 because I was away. Like I said, vacation gets in the way a little bit of trading, but that's why I took a smaller position size than maybe I would normally. And also looking for this thing to continue down. Now, let's go look at Euro USD. So before I jump back to the chart, here's what I said, I'm taking a short on Euro USD, basically yada, yada, yada. Technical analysis we'll talk about in a second. Fundamentally, I do like the euro to the short side. They're very lagging in terms of monetary policy compared to places like the US, which is sort of trying to progressively move towards that tightening of monetary policy, reduction in stimulus. We're actually seeing the Eurozone sort of hold their stimulus and even talking about increasing it in some ways, which if you know anything about stimulus, stimulus checks are great when you're the one receiving them. But when you're the one printing the stimulus, that causes a lot of devaluation of your currency, right? If you think about it, what they did in the US and in many other places during the COVID pandemic, they had to sort of help the businesses and the people out through stimulus, right? Which makes sense. You can't just let everything fall apart. You sort of have to step in, and many governments did a lot of QE or quantitative easing to help with that. But remember that when you print a lot of money, it causes the value of the currency to go down, right? This is what we talk about when we talk about fundamental analysis in Forex. Everyone wants to talk about the charts, which are great. Charts are helpful, but there's aspects of this that, you might miss if you're not looking at the fundamentals. So anyways, lots of printing. And now it's sort of this race right now. We're seeing across the board, all the different central banks are racing towards a reduction in stimulus, right? They don't want to print so much money that they get themselves into a massive inflation problem, which is a concern for many places right now. They want to reduce that stimulus, but Europe right now is far behind in that race, right? So for me, that makes sense. When we look at the Euro USD, people are saying, oh, why is the Euro USD going down so much? It should go up now. Well, remember what drives these prices? It's not candlestick patterns. Candlestick patterns, support and resistance, they're great. They're great tools, but they are not what actually moves the market on a macro scale. What moves the market on a macro scale is things like the Fed, things like the ECB, the European Central Bank, right? That is what's driving the prices up, and they're driving the prices down. Right now, the path of least resistance to me for the euro is to the downside. Is that a guarantee that the price will go down forever? No. It's just a bias. And it's just like anything else. When you're taking a trade, you want to line as many things as you can to go in the direction. You want to line as many things as you can in your favor, so that you can pick a direction, you can pick an entry, you can put a stop loss in your trade, you can manage your risk, all those things that are so important in trading. So every tool that you can use, I like to use. So anyways, depending on how you draw this fib, I basically liked this pullback. I drew it from the closes, and I basically took a stab at it. So far the trade is in profit. We will see if that can continue to go in my favor. But either ways, I have a bias to the downside on Euro USD going into next week. I'm getting my weeks mixed up. Did you just yada, yada, yada a trade? Shane, I've been known to do such things. But no, I probably am just rambling a little bit, just a lot to catch up on. It was inflation news. Is that right? We'll have to go. I'm going to have to go take a look at some of the stuff. Actually, you know what? Let me just, do I have Forex Factory? I do. So let me just look at that. My Forex Factory. There we go. Okay. So what do we have this week? For the US, today we actually have Powell speaking again, which is very interesting. What is he talking about? Dude, participate in a virtual panel discussion titled Monetary and Financial Stability Challenges to Central Banks in the Wake of COVID-19 at an online conference hosted by the South African Reserve Bank. Okay, so that could be interesting. That definitely could be market moving here at 11 on a Friday, 11 a.m. That's in about 2 hours from now. So that could be market moving. PMI here for Europe. We did have some news there for the PMI, which was better than forecasted, but also German flash services PMI here coming out at less than, okay. So a little bit of mixed data there. But yeah, so basically the idea here for the euro area for me right now is, until further notice, I am looking at this thing with a bearish perspective. I like this thing pulling back to levels like the 38.2, 50% retracement. I like these areas for possible shorts. Of course, if I take a trade, you guys will see it inside of the Discord. I already shared, what the trade I am in currently is looking like. If that trade goes against me, I will look for other opportunities. But at this current time, the trade is in profit, and now just a matter of time to see if we can get this thing to roll over a little bit more. So I liked this. This is sort of what we saw happen. We saw the double top here. I ended up getting short right around here. So price did end up double topping. Now the question is, can we get the follow through? And so looking at the Euro USD on a lower time frame perspective, looking here at like the 1 hour and the 4 hour chart, the question is, can we break this area of demand? Down there at 1.162, that seems to be a little bit of an area of support. So if we can get price to break underneath there, maybe there's opportunities for some intraday action, something like this. Could be, not until Monday, but again, with some Fed meeting news coming around the corner here in 2 hours, that could definitely be impactful to the Euro USD. One more thing here, looking at Euro dollar on the 4 hour chart. We've got a little bit of a trend line here. So you might say, well, Nick, this all looks bullish. Why aren't you going long? But remember, when I'm looking at multiple time frames, I'm trying to take into consideration the trend on, the higher time frames. I'm looking at price action on the higher time frames, and then trying to sort of execute on the lower time frames. So I usually execute a position on the 1 hour or the 4 hour chart. I liked this double top here. And in the overall context, if you look at it just here, that kind of looks like a bullish market. But if you put it in perspective, you scroll out a little bit, you see, okay, well, the euro overall, fundamentally, like I mentioned earlier, I'm bearish on it. And then also I like that daily chart sort of fib level. The downtrend overall seems to be strong. Moving average is lining up pretty nice on that daily chart. So all things considered, I'm not really super interested in going long. And this is where a lot of traders get very mixed up. They're sort of in and out of, oh, I'm long, I'm short. They're switching sides on the market all the time, and they don't have any sort of bias towards a direction fundamentally, and they're kind of just switching based on what the chart is telling them all the time. But the chart can if you're looking at a lower time frame, it can look bullish for an hour and then bearish for the next hour and then bullish again. So that's why I kind of like to use those higher time frames. So, Leandro, thanks so much for the congratulations. Yeah, I pointed it out earlier on in the stream. To those of you guys who are saying congratulations, thank you so much. You guys are too kind. I can't get to all the messages. I apologize for that, but just know that I really do appreciate it. That's very, very nice of you. Thank you so much. Let's take a look at pound dollar next. We'll take a look at GBP USD. And let's see what's going on with the pound dollar. So the pound has actually done a little bit better than the euro here in terms of the last the last week or so. The pound has been on a pretty good run. So let's take a look at the daily chart first. The daily chart here on the pound dollar. We've had a pretty good, like I mentioned, a pretty good stretch to the upside here. We saw, it seems like we've got a pretty good sized bottom there to the downside. So we did come down and we formed a low of the year. Now seems like we have retraced from that pretty good. Question is, are we headed right back down, or is this thing set to actually make a continued move higher? I think it's going to definitely be sort of dependent on that dollar story, whether or not the dollar continues to strengthen or not. But again, in terms of the race of monetary policy right now, the UK is doing pretty well in that race, right? So it's not something that I am super interested in constantly shorting. Now, the euro, like I mentioned previously, something I'm a little bit more interested in. But in terms of the pound, I don't have a huge bias on this currency pair at this time. I did try and take some shorts. I think I had a break-even trade and then a loss. So I don't have a huge sort of interest in trading this chart, but we can go ahead and mark some areas of interest just for those of you guys who are watching this one a little bit closer than I am. So there's the pound on the daily chart. Let's take a look at the 4-hour chart and see if we can find any significant levels. So you sort of have some support here. If you are looking to get long on the pound, there may be some opportunities. If you like this rally, if you think this rally is set to continue, maybe a pullback to something like this 38.2 could be interesting, right? You've got some support there. And then the 61.8, of course, looks interesting as well. I would just be careful because this thing seems to be sort of lower and lower each time. So we actually do have one more thing I want to point out with the pound dollar. The question here now for people who are watching the pound is this thing going to be able to put in a higher high, right? Because check this out. We can mark a few points on this chart for a second, and let's do that actually now. So we've got this point here. We've got this point here, this point here. right? We are seeing sort of those lower highs come into this market. We're seeing a pretty consistent downtrend concept. The question is now with this recent rally, if whether or not we can put in a higher high, right? Can we see something like this, which could change the direction of the pound a little bit? We could see bigger term buyers stepping in off of the back of a continued push higher. So, levels like 1.14 come into mind. If we can get up to there, you may start to see, a lot of the sellers start to cover their shorts. A lot of longer term bears step out of the way and say, hey, you know what? The pound looks like it's going higher. So for me right now, the pound dollar is just neutral. I don't have a big, opinion on where this thing goes. I like both currencies at this time to the long side, both the dollar and the pound. So generally speaking, I am usually looking for a strong currency, the one that what I believe to be strong versus something that I believe to be sort of weak. For example, we could take a look at GBP Jpy. We'll take a look at the pound against the yen. This is one that I have a long bias on. I would like to be buying this currency pair if we get a proper setup. So what could that look like? Well, let's look at a 4-hour chart for a second and see if there's any setups that we could look for on this pair. So we had this big whopping trend to the upside as the yen got very, very weak. So I'm not rushing to buy this thing because, again, it's had a really, really good run. So I don't want to buy it at the end of a really good run, even though, this thing could be up by tomorrow or I guess on Monday. I don't want to sort of force myself into a trade. I'd prefer to, wait, be patient, try and get that discounted entry, maybe at that 38.2. I do like this thing fundamentally to the long side. I also like dollar yen to the long side, which maybe we could look at next. So this one is sort of a ways away from really getting to that, discount level, which I would call like that 38.2. That could be an entry point. Maybe we see that next week. So we'll keep that one on the radar. But again, I like this currency pair to the long side. Very clear trend to the upside, lots of strength there. So possibly looking for that buy at the discount level. So next, we'll take a look at dollar yen USD JPY. So this one's seen a little bit more of a retreat here as the dollar has gotten weak in the last few days. But again, the yen is so weak that even though the dollar is coming down a little bit, right? The yen is also so weak that the dollar yen has really not moved that much compared to like the DXY, the euro, or the pound dollar, right? The dollar has gotten pretty weak, but the yen is like the weakest on the list for the last week or so. So this one, similarly, maybe we could see a little bit of a pullback opportunity come into play next week. I like the 38.2 quite a bit on this one as well. We could go ahead and mark this area as a potential level of demand. And let's just remove some of this old charting stuff here. So I like this area. Possible 38.2% retracement could be a nice bounce point for sort of that trend continuation idea. So that will be one that I watch going into next week. The yen crosses a lot of them are on my watch list, but again, I need a bit more of that discount before I can try and jump in there and take a position of my own. So there's dollar yen, pound yen. What about Aussie yen? This one might be an interesting one as well. The Australian dollar against the yen. Can we see a little bit more of a retreat here on this currency pair? This one is so strong. I bet you NZD JPY and AUD JPY look a lot similar, but the Australian dollar has been very, very strong. Drawing this level, I mean, we're ways away from a 38.2% retracement. But again, as you guys know, this market can get crazy very, very quickly. So if we see a retreat on the Aussie yen, perhaps there will be some form of a continuation entry, maybe next week, maybe the week after. We'll just keep this one on the watch list. And that's the point of these streams is I go through all these charts and ideas and setups. And some of them come into play, some of them don't. Some of them come into play and then they're losers, right? This is not, there's nothing simple about trading or easy about trading. It's, it's a practice, it's a discipline. So we'll continue to show up, continue to look for setups each day. That is kind of, I spend 30 minutes to an hour each day going through setups with you guys. Now that I'm back from vacation, we'll be doing it, of course, back to our normal schedule, which is, 5 days a week, going through the charts, going through the markets. It's just part of my my daily routine. So NZD JPY, this one also, I do have a long bias on, but this would probably not be my first call to buy. I'd like to see it retrace a good bit here, maybe back to structure. Again, this one was so strong in the last week or so. We barely had any pause before, just more green candles piling into this trade. So again, not something I'm in right now, but would be interested in potentially getting in on that. Can you cover AUD strength in general? Well, so Australia and New Zealand, I believe New Zealand got quite strong off of the back of sort of the monetary policy race that we keep talking about on streams and on my channel. So New Zealand, they are, sort of marching towards that rate hikes and monetary policy tightening. And whenever that sort of news comes out, we see the currencies go crazy, right? So NZD, for example, against the US dollar also got very, very strong. So let's look at this. So the NZD USD, pretty much as soon as they sort of announced, hey, we're going to be tightening monetary policy, just went super strong. So I don't love the NZD against the dollar personally. I like both currencies, but I do like the idea of buying NZD against JPY, maybe against CHF as things continue to progress towards that, post-pandemic, things are still recovering, getting better. We're handling the pandemic better. Vaccines are out, things like that. That tends to march us towards a stronger commodity currencies. Things like NZD, AUD, CAD tend to be doing very well during this because, again, that means back to normal trade, which these economies have a lot of exposure to. New Zealand and Australia, they do a lot of trade with China. They do a lot of trade with the US and lots of places, but China is a huge Pacific partner of theirs. So when things are going well, these economies tend to do very well off of the back of it as well. So I said well like 5 times, but you get the point. AUD, NZD, I'm just curious about this currency pair just for a second. AUD, NZD, so this one actually really retreated. The Australian dollar sort of pulled back, possibly in response to that outlook on New Zealand sort of leading the charge in some of the monetary policy stuff. So that may be interesting to look at, AUD, NZD, but again, most of my interest right now is on the yen pairs and the CHF pairs, looking to short the yen, short the CHF, and buy some of these other currencies. Also short the Euro USD. That's another one that I'm looking at personally. So, of course, please remember, whatever I say on these streams, I'm not here to tell you what to do. This is, someone said it really well. My channel is actually not really focused on education per se. And that sounds kind of weird because a lot of people are like, I learn a lot from your content. And that's great that you do, but I'm not really here to sort of be your mentor or your teacher. My goal, I actually do this stuff. Like I trade, I share my content here as just a trading content creator. I love to trade. I love to create content. My goal is not to teach you everything to do and tell you what to do and hold your hand and do all that. Like I'm doing this stuff and I hope that this stuff is helpful to you. But again, my primary goal is just to show you the ins and outs of day-to-day real trading and what it looks like and what it means to be a Forex trader. So if it is helpful to you, then hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We do these streams Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. US Eastern. You guys can come back anytime you like, but the best way to get notified so that you can come back, if you're very serious about your trading, I invite you to come back every day and do these streams with us. Go through your markups, go through your charts, go through your strategy, whatever you do, come join the stream and share your input with the comments and the chat box. So hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, by the way. That will help you come back to the streams in case you need a reminder each day. It's a great way to just come in, do your thing, jump in on the streams and be a part of the action. So with that said, guys, thank you very much for being here today. I appreciate you as always. And thank you all for the congratulations on our engagement. That's been a crazy week, but it's good to be back and excited to do more with you guys here. So thank you so much. We will see you back next time. Well, look at you. You made it to the end of another stream. Thank you for being here. It really does mean the world to us. We love doing this every single day, and you being here really makes that all possible through YouTube advertising, things like that. Helps to pay myself, the staff, everyone here that you see involved. With that said, we've got more free trading help. As you guys know, as a big thank you to you, we are constantly putting out free content, and we've got something real special for you. Down below in the description, there is a link to access our questionnaire. If you have any questions about things like risk management, price action, technical analysis, you can actually ask your question or get some help on those topics just by going down below in the description. There's a link, click it there, and you should get some help fairly quickly. So with that said, check it out down below, and we'll see you back in the next stream.